I'd like to call the Proctor City Council meeting for Monday, March 18th, 2024 to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll perform roll call at this time. Councilor Benson. Present. Councilor Reuter.
Present.
Councilor Johnson.
Present.
Councilor DeWall.
Present.
Mayor Ward is also present. Please let the minutes reflect all others in attendance. Megan Jordan, Attorney Bray, Administrator Rich, and Chief Gatus. I'd like to take a second to read a statement regarding the school incident from March 13th, 2024. We want to express our gratitude towards Proctor Police Department and all the surrounding agencies, Carleton County Sheriff's Department, Cloquet Police Department, Duluth Police Department, Hermantown Police Department, Mayo Ambulance, Minnesota DNR, Minnesota State Patrol, Proctor Fire Department, St. Louis County Sheriff's Department, and the University of Minnesota Duluth Police Department that all responded to the incident at the Proctor School on Wednesday, March 13th. The response was handled with the utmost professionalism. Kudos to Chief Gatus, Chief Crace, and Sheriff Ramsey, and all the law enforcement officers on the scene for taking control of a very scary and nerve-wracking situation. The long hours of training have proven to be invaluable when these situations arise. We also want to thank the Proctor School District and everyone who was inside the building that day for how they handled getting the kids to a safe room. Again, the training that these professionals have been provided was utilized to perfection. At the end of the day, everyone who played a part in ensuring the public safety did exactly what they had been trained to do with an outcome that couldn't have been better in this case. Thank you again to all involved, and it's wonderful to see neighboring communities come together to help in a time of need. Although we hope we never have to repay you in a situation such as this, know the City of Proctor will proudly step up to help our neighbors if ever asked to do so. So, Chief Gatus, to you and all the officers, thank you for what you guys did last Wednesday.
Thanks.
With that, we'll entertain a motion to approve the City Council meeting minutes from Monday, March 4th, 2024.
So moved.
Councilor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to approve the special City Council meeting minutes from March 4th, 2024. Councilor Benson made the motion. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. And looking for a motion to approve the special City Council meeting minutes for March 6, 2024. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Sent by Councilor Reuter. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to approve tonight's agenda. I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Sent by Councilor Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. That brings us to comments and suggestions from the citizens present or watching from home. The public comment and suggestion period of this meeting is when the City Council offers a time for everyone in attendance or watching from home to address the City Council. Once we move on from the public comment and suggestion period of the meeting, members of the public will no longer be allowed to address the council unless the mayor acknowledges you. As a general rule, the council will listen to all comments but will not comment on or respond to any comments made by the speakers. The council will not engage in dialogue. However, any council member can ask questions. If you'd like to address the City Council during the public comment and suggestion period of the meeting, please come forward to the podium or dial 218-628-6289. Before you begin, please state your name and address for the meeting minutes. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Anyone addressing the City Council will be prohibited from using obscene, profane, or threatening language or boisterous conduct that disrupts the meeting or the security of the public. Is there anyone at this time that is interested in participating in the public comment and suggestion period of the meeting? Please come forward to the podium or dial 218-628-6289, and we'll give that a minute. Hearing none, we'll move on. Looking for a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda. I'll make a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second. Go ahead.
Second by Counselor Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. That will bring us to 4A, Clerk advises council pickleball courts proposal for professional services. Administrator Rich.
Thank you, Mayor. We received two proposals for engineering and design services for the proposed pickleball courts. We received one from LHB, was solicited, and one from our engineer, SEH. So I'm planning to take those to the Parks and Rec Committee, and we'll take a look at those proposals and have a recommendation for you. And also speaking about Playground for Everybody, but if you have any questions on those or would like to see those prior to Parks and Rec, we'll be having a meeting within the next week.
Thank you. Does council have any questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to 4B, City Attorney RFP update. Administrator Rich.
So council asked me to move forward with the request for proposal process for city attorney. You were emailed a draft this morning, and then you have an edited version with some minor edits to it. The one item that I wanted to speak with you about is the timeline. So I did, originally I put April 5th, Friday, April 5th as a deadline for submitting an RFP. That may be a little tight. I don't want to exclude a firm because our timeline is tight. If we give them more time, we might attract more firms. Just wanted to have a discussion with you on where you wanted to see that timeline. We do have access to attorneys that can give us advice in the meantime on a case-by-case basis. So it is really up to you on what you want that timeline to look like.
I was speaking with Administrator Rich earlier today about that, and I guess in my opinion, April 12th, I believe it was, that Friday, it would be right before our second meeting of the month. But if we had a deadline for RFPs on the 12th, that would give us two and a half weeks before our next meeting to go through those RFPs, do interviews if need be, and then make a decision the first meeting in April, was kind of my thought on that. April 5th, I just feel is a real tight timeline to get RFPs in.
You mean May, make a decision?
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah. First meeting in May would make that decision on the RFPs.
I would agree that April 5th is too tight to get the submittals in. I would push it to the 12th so that we would end of business day at the 12th or something.
Yeah.
For whatever you normally do.
So I know in your RFP, Administrator Rich, under instructions for proposals, number 4, you just need to update that to reflect the 12th, but we'll, I'll make a motion to go with April 12th, 4 p.m. April 12th, for deadline for RFPs if there's a second.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilor DeWall. Any further discussion?
Well, I'm looking at, we meet on the 15th.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
by the time they come in end of day Friday to have anything ready for that meeting on the 15th.
But we won't meet again until May something.
Correct, that's why I
Could
said
we
it.
even make it later?
Well, that's what, we would like a few weeks to do interviews and
Oh.
look over the RFPs. So then for that first meeting in May, we would have a recommendation as far as,
Got it, okay.
any further discussion?
Thank you.
Yep. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Brings us to 4C, Playground for Everybody, final phase. Administrator Rich.
Thank you, Mayor. And when I say final phase, I mean it's the final phase of the DNR grant. Hopefully it's a playground and a facility that grows with the community and we can eventually add more, but the DNR grant, we can close it out with, we were approved for the addition of the fence, which was installed over the weekend, so encourage you to go take a look at it. And then we'll be getting the parking lot paved for ADA spots. The one thing that Mayor had actually pointed out to me today is to make sure that we include striping. If we're gonna include ADA spots, we should include appropriate striping for it. So we may have a little bit, that'll probably take up the remaining of the funds. We were gonna ask Parks and Rec to look at a sign, they still might. But with these, the final two or three or four projects, the DNR grant will be closed out.
Thank you. Any questions from council regarding that? Hearing none, we will move on to 6A. Parcel code 185-0160-00 rezoning property agreement amendment. Administrator Rich?
Okay, so this request was brought to you by the property owner. At one point, there was a request to split the property, and the Planning and Zoning Commission agreed to the split. John, you can interrupt me at any time too. And then there was a rezoning agreement that if water and sewer or a house was ever to be built on the property, that the property owner would run city water and sewer to the property. From what I understand, the property is up for sale now. This agreement is recorded with the property, so it does come up as questions. The property owners identified the back of the lot as the buildable place where they would like to build, or a potential buyer might want to build. And so they addressed Planning and Zoning Commission to get an amendment to that agreement to allow them to put in an on-site system for their utilities rather than connect, but the option for connecting is still there. So they could, according to this proposed amendment, they could connect up to city water or sewer, or they could put in on-site systems if they so choose.
I got one question. On the requested action memo, it talks about the Planning and Zoning Commission recommends an amendment to the original agreement and allow for a well to be drilled on the property and forego the initial requirements to connect to city water. What you're saying is we'd like both options to be, keep the option to hook up to city water, but also allow a well if that's the route they so choose?
Correct.
Okay. And then the commission also requests that the council discuss and determine if the homeowner is responsible for attorney and recording fees. So that is the requested action. I'll go ahead and make a motion to amend the original agreement to allow for a well to be drilled on the property. But in my opinion, this request came from the homeowner because he or she did not want to hook up to city water. So I believe the homeowner should be responsible for attorney and recording fees too, because this is their request to make this amendment. So that would be my motion, to amend the agreement to allow for a well to be drilled and for homeowner to be responsible for attorney and recording fees. If there's a second. Hearing no second.
Second.
Councilor Johnson made a second. Is there any other discussion? Councilor Benson?
When you say homeowner, is that the property owner or the future?
The property owner. I misspoke, so good catch, Councilor, but yeah, it'd be the property owner.
And, you know, I went through the, what I could, trying to understand what I could, and I was curious as to the reason why planning and zoning. Thank you. So I was curious to, the reasons behind planning and zoning making the change.
Oh, I believe the property owner came to planning and zoning asking for the change.
Yes.
The property owner's realtor, real estate agent? What do you,
Really.
Yes, I'm a realtor
realtor?
for the property, correct.
And,
I can barely hear you guys.
oh, well,
Move on.
the
I can hear you better online than I can hear you here, so.
The question by Councilor Benson was, why the property owner came to planning and zoning asking for this amendment.
Well, we've had several inquiries on the property, and the cost to bring in a city water line from the current location of the main. The estimates that we were getting were between $30,000 and $40,000. And we
Can you pull that parcel up? Or no? Just so you can,
Give me a second.
you can show Counselor Benson.
So, Mr. Mayor, so is this well for the purpose of selling the property, or is it the purpose of building a home?
Well, it's the purpose of being able to sell the property, yes, in order to reasonably find a buyer, she needs to have this provision of that agreement removed.
No worries.
Yeah, and I was just thinking of all the other folks who have had to pay assessments for water lines that they would never use as
So-
they go past properties that are just there as buffers.
I think, if I may, part of the issue with this particular lot is water doesn't necessarily go, the main doesn't go by it. So they would end up having to extend the main, probably from Pine Avenue heading to the west. Proctor Utilities will not allow a 1-inch copper just meandered through. It's got a tee off a main, so they'd have to extend the main probably, I'm gonna guess 100 to 200 feet west. Then they could tee in a 1-inch from the Lake side all the way back, which would be, I don't know if that's a 300-plus length lot. And if they want to build on the back side, that, I mean, I could see it's an expense.
And that's what I wanted to show on that parcel, is they wanted to come on the backside. What's that road called on the backside?
Youngdahl.
Youngdahl Road, not the Bake Road. So-
Well, and the other problem is even if they extend the main down in front of that property, the best buildable spot is way on the far, almost on the Hermantown borderline there, so not only would you have to extend that, but then you get to go about 500 feet of copper line to get up to even where you're gonna have a house, so I can see where a wall would make more sense.
I hope that they have better luck than most people do with wells, because in that area, it's been difficult.
Molitor's got a pretty good one, he's the next house past that,
I know everything to the west is not good.
yeah.
And what about sewer?
There is
There is none.
no, so that lot would be pursuant to the St. Louis County rule of septic system tests. You know, which we don't really have anything to say on that. That's a
Yeah.
county rule, they have to have an A and B location.
Yep.
Any other discussion?
No, that's it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Well, there's a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Thank you for coming.
So just in summary, the motion passed, owner of property will be paying for all,
Attorney and recording fees, yep.
just want to clarify.
6B, Resolution 14-24, Prosecution Services Agreement. In your packet is a proposal from Bray and Reed LTD for criminal prosecution services on Resolution 14-24. Looking for a motion to approve Resolution 14-24.
So moved.
Counselor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? This was expiring 2025, correct? Correct. Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Resolution 15-24, jet loan agreement renewal. So in your packet is the annual renewal for the Jet Museum up by the golf course. Good news on this is they decided to change it to a 5-year cycle, so we're not doing it every year. So that will make city staff very happy, I would assume. But looking for a motion to approve Resolution 15-24.
I move.
Counselor Benson made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Sent by Counselor DeWall. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Brings us to 6D, SRO Resolution, St. Louis County Board. Counselor Benson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The governor signed a SRO agreement. Not exactly sure when it's going to be law, usually when the governor signs it. So with that, there's a good likelihood that the county will be putting SROs back into the only school district that has SROs in St. Louis County from the county is 2142. Right now, the citizens of Proctor pay for the police department to have an SRO. Citizens of Proctor, as part of the Proctor School District, gets a safe school levy to help pay for an SRO. And now we are also expected to pay a portion of our tax dollars to put an SRO in 2142. So what I'm proposing is a simple resolution that we have passed in the past to ask the county to also participate in some small way of paying for our own SRO in the Proctor School District. There are cities up on the range that are close to and have schools within their community that do not pay a dime. And here we are kind of getting taxed 3 times over. So that's the gist of the comments. I left the percentage open because I'm not really sure to what extent we want to ask the county to contribute, whether it's 25 or 33 or whatever the cost of the SROs is. And I think in light of what happened last week, values of SROs and police responses to situation is well worth it. The St. Louis County Sheriff knows that this is coming. I spoke briefly with him about it.
Okay. So I think tonight, because there's not an official resolution here, I think tonight, if this is something council would like to see, we could make a motion to direct Administrator Rich and city staff to draft a resolution, maybe with Councilor Benson's help, to be presented at the next meeting. If council doesn't feel this is something they want to see, then that road.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion with just the observation that there is a sample resolution.
There is, correct. So, but there are some blanks in there, like you
Yes.
said. So I would feel more comfortable if we had an actual resolution in front of us with everything filled in. I'm not opposed to it. I like the idea that you did reach out to Sheriff Ramsey today or whenever to address it with him.
Yeah, last week, and I mentioned that it would be on our agenda today.
So Councilor Benson made the motion. Is there a second? I will go ahead and second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Brings us to 6E, proposed language to amend statute 71.08 winter parking ordinance. Councilor Benson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There is a memo in our packets that pretty much explains it. We talked briefly about it in past meetings. Tried to use the language that is in the current parking regulation 71.08. And in essence, it just gives the chief of police or his designee the opportunity to, under legal authority, to waive or suspend the winter parking rules.
So what the change reads, I believe, is if the chief of police in his or her discretion or any police officer acting under the authority of the chief of police determines that weather conditions allow for on-street parking, the chief of police or police officer acting under the authority of the chief police may direct the winter parking regulations be suspended for a certain period of time. Since this is a change to city code, this would have to be our first reading of it. This would have to come back in front of council next meeting for a second reading, and then we can vote on the changes at that time. So that will be considered our first reading on the change to the winter parking ordinance. Was there any discussion on that?
Yeah. Chief, are you okay with this?
I think it kind of goes back when Council Roll Reader and us, when we had that brief winter parking meeting that we had about a month ago, that we don't take, we sit there, I work with, to make that decision, it's just not gonna be me, I'm gonna be working with the street foreman and stuff, and go, do you think this is feasible or not? We work with the public, so it just helps us work with the public a little bit quicker, and yeah, make it right. We've been doing this kind of since 1996, since I've been here, but now it'd be the right way to do it, I would say. But just to let you know, it's not gonna be my sole decision. We work together on making this decision. within
Right.
the city.
And in the packet, Counselor Benson did have some, I think they came from League of Minnesota Cities on,
Yes.
and yeah, to your point, now we can codify this and make it correct, just to protect everybody involved, so. If you're not opposed to it, I like the idea of giving you the authority to suspend it, but
No, I agree with it. I think it goes back to what our meeting was about this, and working with the community, working with the street department and everybody. When it's feasible, it makes common sense, let's do it.
right.
We're just taking away a hopefully unlikely liability situation.
Right. Nope. All right, any other discussion before moving on? Hearing none, we'll go to 6F, November sales tax campaign. Counselor Benson.
Are you sure it's me?
I don't know, I thought it was, is it you?
Yeah.
Has your name on it.
The state allowed us to put a sales tax question on the ballot. And November is coming up quickly, and I think we need to have at least a public relation campaign to at least let the citizens know why it's going to be on the ballot and how it could improve the city, and just, again, public relations, it's not, we're not trying to steer them to vote one way or another, just to let them know that it's going to be on the ballot.
And what it's there for.
Yeah, yes. I know other communities have started even last year in 2023 with their sales tax proposals. Most of them are a little larger, a lot larger than ours, with many additional components. We just have the one, and I think giving the staff authority to start working and putting it together would be helpful. I think the last time we had a vote, Jim was probably mayor, first time was mayor, second time was city administrator, so into it.
In a while.
Are you making a motion to direct city staff and administrator
Yes,
to work on
please.
strategy materials for the November sales tax?
Yes,
You heard Counselor Benson's motion to direct city staff and Administrator Rich to begin strategy and materials for the November sales tax campaign. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. That will bring us to members' concerns. Counselor Reuter.
I just had a couple quick things. One, Councilor DeWall had us put the St. Luke's parking issues, St. Luke's Arena parking issues on the old business or whatever. I'm just wondering when we're gonna start talking to them about that. You know, the hockey season's over, and before we know it, we'll be back into it again. And if they're gonna make any changes up there, they're gonna have to start pretty soon. I mean, I think we should at least sit down and
Public Safety a meeting
last week.
Wednesday that got interrupted because of
You
the,
understand.
so, the talks have began, and Counselor Dahl can hit on that a little bit if you'd like. You were at the meeting, so.
Yeah, we were able to get through before everyone had to leave. And Chief Gaddis, you can interlude if you want, but I think he took what we said loud and clear, and the way it was left, he was going to come up with a plan
Correct.
with how to improve it, looking at different options. But the school needs to do that, and then they were going to come back. We did emphasize the importance of, hey, we need to get resolution before the next season, and knowing that their budget is coming up in June. So at this point, I think we accomplished what we needed to from a public safety standpoint. Now he needs to come up with a plan and then present that back. And I would assume he'd present that to public safety first, and then it would come to council.
Yeah, I like, he brought up some plans, Counselor Waiter, you know, that he was thinking about some older ones, and then the street foreman brought up some other things to think about, and so I think he's got some different, like 2 or 3 different plans at least to look at to see what's feasible on how to do it.
Yeah.
So it is on his radar,
Okay.
and he assured us that he was going to get back to us.
Just the time goes by so fast before we know we'll be back into another season, then we can't do anything, so.
And that's why we try to have that meeting with only one agenda item on it, because we know that we wanted to get that and get it through.
Okay. And the other thing I had wasn't that long ago, we had a meeting with public safety and all the police officers and everything, and talked about various items that they'd like to see changed, or what we could do to help with retention and everything, and we made a couple little changes, I think, but it'd be nice if we could revisit that and start looking at maybe what other things we can do to show that we're supporting them and trying to make things better.
I have an update on that.
Oh.
So I've been working with the Civil Service Commission along with Chief Gaddis. They are looking at the recommendations that the police officers gave, and they are also looking at recommendations to council on how to look at those recommendations. Specifically, we're looking at a wage study, a professional wage study. We are looking at some other recruitment and retention efforts. So we've really directed our attention to the Civil Service Commission to come to you with more formal recommendations that include budgetary considerations. For example, not just increasing wages, but how that affects budget, how that will affect it in 1, 2, 4, 5 years. So Civil Service Commission's working on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I got.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor DeWall.
I was just going to give an update on the parking, but we already did that, so I have nothing.
Sounds good. Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Johnson.
I have nothing, thank
Thank you. Counselor Benson.
Just going back to the police officers, the League of Minnesota Cities now has this physical ability test program. It's pretty affordable, and now it's an option for police departments. So just wanted to make you aware of that. Wanted to echo what the mayor had to say about the response last week, and how well everybody appeared to work together, and the importance of having a well-trained, healthy police department certainly showed. Midway at their annual town board meeting last week, one of the hot topics that a number of residents alerted me to was their first responders. And I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen, but the logical alternative would be City of Proctor. So I just wanted to make administration and the police and fire alerted to that if they don't already know. And then finally, this appears to be John Bray's last meeting with the city council, and I certainly wanted to thank him for his years and decades worth of work. I had the, on another topic, I contacted the Minnesota boundary adjustment people. And we were discussing, again, another topic, and they were the ones that brought up how thankful they were to City of Proctor and John Bray for helping them finally come to a conclusion on annexation of cities and townships and a discussion. And they said they've been struggling with that question for 30 years, and if it wasn't for that effort, they'd still be struggling. So I wanted to pass that along, and again, thank Mr. Gray for his attention.
Thank you, Counselor. I got just a couple things. The State of the City with Hermantown and Rice Lake will be Thursday, March 21st at noon at Proctor Blackwoods. Deputy Mayor DeWall will be presenting a very nice speech, as I will be in San Antonio. Happy Easter to everyone coming up. And yes, John, after 30 years serving the City of Proctor, thank you for everything you've done here and helping us through with a lot of different animals. So this is a long career.
It's been pretty good.
Thank you. Attorney Gray.
Thank you. Just 30 years working with you guys. And I'm taking my sign.
The sign is yours. Thank you again. Chief Gatus.
I'll keep this quick. After our incident, obviously Wednesday up there, just to let you know, after we do things like that, we have a debriefing after action review plan that we'll get everybody together. I don't, who was there, who can make it, that's another thing. But that'll be at a later date. We'll discuss what went well, what didn't go well, and how we can do better on that. So you know that we do review ourselves when incidents like this do happen. So, thank you guys too that reached out to talk to the officers and myself about that. I appreciate that too. So the officers really do appreciate when you reach out to them. Okay? That's all I
Thank
got.
you. Thank you. Administrator Rich.
I have nothing.
Thank you. That being said, looking for a motion to approve the bills in the amount of $96,215.43.
So moved.
Counselor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Sent by Counselor DeWall. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Counselor DeWall made a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Thank you.